What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another subscriber Q&A video. I thought I would kind of address a few more questions that I received from those recent giveaways that I had on the channel. Lots of good questions, and I just picked out a random assortment, some of them funny, some of them just kind of interesting topics to talk about. So I want to say thanks to everybody who's submitted questions for the last few giveaways. Stay tuned on the channel, folks. It's only January. I'm sure I'll be giving away quite a bit more stuff on the channel because I think you guys deserve it. I mean, the fact that anyone watches my stupid videos is incredible to me, and the least I can do is try to do some more giveaways this year. So also, I'm still waiting to hear back from, I believe his name is Mark Hewitt. Mark, if you're watching this, I still need your mailing address for the vintage collection giveaway. I drew your name and you were the winner. If I don't hear back from you the next week or so, then I'll just give it to somebody else, I guess. But shoot me an email, actionfiguregrader@gmail.com, with your mailing address so I can get this giveaway off to you. I did hear back from the hipster doofus, so I sent your items. I sent you two. And again, thank you again to Eric B., who's a Patreon supporter and sent those vintage collection figures as giveaways for the channel. So let's dig into some questions, folks. Corin AP says, 2 giveaways in a row. That's amazing. What's the favorite part of your collection that I received during Christmas? And I don't usually ask for anything over Christmas. I don't ask for anything. I always tell my family and my wife and kids, don't buy me anything. I prefer to just give than receive. And I'm not a big, Christmas guy in terms of getting gifts. I'd rather give them. But I did receive a few gifts. First of all, David G. Over in the UK, he sent me a beautiful gift basket. Thank you, David. He's a Patreon supporter, longtime supporter of the channel. And my kids dug into it. It was like lots of candy and everything like that. So I appreciate you doing that. Really kind of you. Thank you again, David. Also, Andy over at the Hollow Chronicles podcast, he sent me this Star Wars mini guide. This was part of the Read 5 book that came out. I didn't get that book, although I probably should have. I just don't have much space. But Andy was kind enough to send me this quick kind of card back guide, and it goes through all the different card backs, and it's kind of a quick reference guide, really useful and helpful, and it was very nice of him. He sent me a bunch of other really nice stuff, a Hollow Chronicles podcast coaster that I actually use every single day. I needed one for my desk and for my collection room where I film these videos, and I use that literally every single day, Andy. So thank you again for all the great gifts. But this Read 5 book, if you have not bought it yet, Boss Bounty and a number of other folks have covered this, Blacked Out Ewoks. I mean, the book is incredible. It's probably the holy Bible for Kenner cardbacks, certainly more thorough than anything that's ever been produced to date. And as part of that package, there was this mini guide, and Andy was kind enough to send that to me. So thank you again. And I did receive a number of other awesome gifts. Matthew K. sent me the Vintage Collection Stormtrooper, really kind of you. And I know I'm forgetting a bunch of other folks, but I received like 4 or 5 or 6 different packages from subscribers and friends, and it's just so generous of you guys to do that. Absolutely not necessary, but very, very kind of you guys. Next up, Darren Smith. He says, what's the cheapest item in my Star Wars collection that I cherish? And this is an item I've covered in the past. When I was first getting sober, as you guys, people who know my story, who have been longtime subscribers to the channel, I basically started this channel as a way to fill time because I got sober. I was a really bad alcoholic. Now I'm a treated alcoholic. And right around that time, my son, for Christmas, gave me a Power of the Force Stap Droid. So it's not an expensive item. This is probably a $10 item or less. But I keep this displayed on my shelf. You guys see it usually in every video. I display it up here where my TIE Fighter and where my Boba Fett helmet are. And I keep that up there. And it's just a nice reminder that, my story could have ended a lot differently if I had not sought treatment. And not to give you too much information, but I've got a long history of this stuff in my family, and it usually ends really poorly. I've had a lot of family members that I've lost from that insidious disease, but luckily, I'm over almost 6.5 years sober now, and that Stap Droid was given to me by my son on my first sober Christmas, so I keep that as a good reminder, and I love it. And that probably really answers the next question. If I could be buried with one figure, which one would it be? It would probably be that Stap Droid. I don't, this is all just stuff. You guys know that I kind of view Star Wars collecting. It's a passion of mine, but it's also ridiculous. And I know it's ridiculous. I recognize the ridiculousness of my passion for graded Star Wars dolls. And I'm sure at some point they're all going to be sold off. And my wife's going to move on with her life with her next husband, Chad or Thad or Bruce or whoever his name is. And hopefully that'll fund them a really nice Italian vacation. But in terms of being buried with them, that's probably really the only one that would be cool with me to be in my casket. The rest of this stuff will probably all get sold off and help pay my family's expenses after I'm long gone. Hopefully that's not for a while, but you just never know. Next up, Thomas Meehan, 2911, says, what TVC figure from The Mandalorian do you think will be the most valuable in the coming years, excluding miscards? Love the content from Ireland. Thank you, Thomas, for the question. That's a good question. I mean, obviously, most of the vintage collection, TVC 2.0, are not particularly valuable just because I think by the time the second run of vintage collection rolled around, people kind of knew the story and knew that these are heavily collected. All the awesome channels out there that cover the vintage collection in great detail, like Boss Bounty and Only One Kenobi and John Miko, who runs the Facebook TVC group and also now has his own channel and does a lot of live streams. Those guys cover the vintage collection. It's a huge and popular line of toys, and Hasbro is pumping them out. And so I don't know which figure will actually maybe quote unquote have the most value. I think Cara Dune is probably a good choice. Obviously the prices have come back down since all the hubbub of Gina Carano's firing has kind of, the dust has settled, so to speak, and the prices have not, they've kind of come back down to reality, as they should have. But both her original issue in high grade as well as the carbonized Walmart exclusive version of the vintage collection card, those are pretty nice figures. I would think you'd also want to take a look at the Walmart exclusives, like the Maldo Crease VC211, I think it is, and the VC177. Both of those, I think, will be pretty valuable long-term just because they're Walmart exclusives. So those would be my three picks, really, for which ones I think may hold their value long-term. But who knows? Who knows these days? Steve, he says, great video. I enjoy the Shadows of the Empire comic book 2-pack with Boba Fett and IG-88. I opened one and saved one. Is it worth it to grade this loose Dark Horse comic book? And there are people that have done that, where, I'm referring to the comic 2-packs that have action figures inside. There's two different ones, to my knowledge. You got Boba Fett and IG-88 in one, and then you got Darth Vader and Prince Xizor in another one. So I did look up recent sales prices. So here's the one with Darth Vader and Xizor. This is probably my favorite of the two Kenner promotional comic books that came in that 2-pack. And this one is a 9.8 grade. Kenner promotional. This is from 1996, and it says Kenner Special Edition A. This one is listed for $250. Make an offer, and there's 6 watchers on that one. This is the other one. This is the Kenner Promotional Special Edition B, and this is the one with IG-88 and Boba Fett on the cover. Both of them are great covers. I prefer the Xizor cover, but this one's listed for $200. And they're both at a 9.8 grade, so obviously the price will drop pretty quickly once you get into 9.6 and down from there. In terms of closed, the only closed sale I found was this one for the Special Edition B with Boba Fett and IG-88 on the cover. I only looked at 9.8s just because I'm trying to keep it fairly quick for this video, but this one sold for $87. So you compare that one versus this one that's listed for $200. Obviously, this one's listed way too high, but this one sold for $87 at an auction plus shipping. So if that answers your question, is it worth it to grade it? If you think it might get a high grade, otherwise you can probably just pick one up already graded and not risk it coming back at like a 9.0 or 8.5 or something crazy like that. But they do show up on eBay and in all the different comic book auction websites like My Comic Shop or Comic Link. They do show up occasionally at different grades, and in general, they're not particularly expensive. During the height of the comic book market, they did get really expensive, but they've kind of come back down to earth, so to speak. But the CGC population of 9.8s especially is very low for these because they came in action figure packs, so you got to safely take the comic book out. You got to get it pressed and cleaned, and then hope it comes back at a 9.8, and that's no gimme, just given how easy it is to get damaged not only inside the packaging but outside the packaging. So hopefully that answers your question. Star Chad 1969, he says, what's your favorite comic book 2-pack? Now I've only got 6, I believe, all graded, and they're really nice ones. I off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you which one's my favorite that I own. The one that I don't have that I would like to get is this one, and this is comic pack number 6, and this has got a reprint of Star Wars number 68 from the original vintage run. And obviously that's the origin story of Boba Fett, and it's also the first time that Mandalorians as a planetary, race, I guess, were ever mentioned in comic books. So it's a pretty key issue for the original book, but this is a reprint, obviously, the book, and it includes comic stylized editions of Boba Fett and Dengar inside that 2-pack. I'm sorry, it's not Boba Fett, it's Fen Shiza. I always forget that comic issue number 68 from the original vintage run. That's not Boba Fett on the cover. That is Fen Shiza, who's a Mandalorian. So, but it dives into Boba Fett's origin story, and it's just a great comic book to have. I'd love to have the original in a 9.8 grade from CGC at some point, but they're obviously very, very pricey, even with the comic book market downturn. But this 2-pack is one I'd like to have. This one was in pretty great shape overall, and it sold for $45 in an auction. $45, 8 bids. This was on October 23rd, and I've seen as high as $85, but this one is at $45. My issue is not so much the cost. The cost is very affordable, obviously. The issue is space. I've got 6 of them already graded, and believe me, they take up a lot of space once you put them in one of those acrylic cases. So I doubt I'll ever get it. I think I'd probably just rather have Star Wars number 68, the original Marvel issue, at some point down the line, if I can ever afford it. But you're probably $1,000, $1,200 easily for a 9.8 grade for that original issue book. But this is the reprint, and I have seen CGC 9.8s of the reprint comic, and in fact, I think there's 1 or 2 for sale right now on eBay. So anyway, that's my favorite comic 2-pack that I don't have. It's not particularly expensive. There's obviously much more expensive comic 2-packs like the Entertainment Earth exclusives. Open Season is one that's got a couple of Mandalorians inside. That one goes for big money, over $500. There's also a Kashyyyk Trooper one that can go for the same kind of price point, but that's my favorite in terms of presentation, with Fen Shiza and Dengar on the cover there. It just looks fantastic. Next up, John Warwick. He says, what do you think about eBay auctions? I'm done with them. I hate having to bid all week, and then some jerk always loves to bid in the last 2 seconds, so you don't even have a chance to rebid. I've been burned 3 times now. I'm done. John, you're doing it wrong, man. Let me help you here. I buy on eBay on auctions. Not a lot, but I do. I try not to buy on eBay. I prefer Facebook with trusted sellers because you avoid a lot of eBay fees and sales taxes and things like that. But if you find something on eBay, and I every year I find some stuff on eBay that I want to bid on. And the best way to do it is don't bother bidding until the very end. Put it on your watch list and forget about it. And the key is to get this app for your phone. It's called My iBidder Auction Sniper. And now you do have to pay for it. And how you pay for it, you're bidding by the number of credits. And every time that you have My iBidder auto bid for you with 3 seconds left, that takes a credit. And I think it's like, maybe $20 for 50 credits. It's not very expensive. The more credits you buy at once, the cheaper per credit it is. But it's an app for your phone. You can go to the Play Store or whatever and download it. This is the logo, so you know which one to buy. It kind of looks like a hazmat suit or like, hazardous materials kind of logo. But this My iBidder Auction Sniper is a fantastic app. And what I do is, now that there's problems with it though, okay? Because if you're going to have somebody auto bid for you with 3 seconds left, you got to put in your max bid. So, unless you're going to be present and there, you're not going to get your best price, because 3 seconds left, it really gives another person another opportunity to bid right before it ends if they are at their computer or on their phone as the auction is ending. Now, let's say, for example, that 32 back B Bosk that was in Australia. It ended at kind of a weird time, so I just put it in a bid and I forgot about it, and then luckily I won. But you got to understand though that whatever your final bid is on the My iBid that you put in there to auto bid for you, it's, that still gives an opportunity for someone else to outbid you, because the least amount of time that my iBidder offers is with 3 seconds left in the auction. And with 3 seconds left in the auction, that does give just enough time for somebody else to put a bid in. So you can go what's called the nuclear option, which I do sometimes, where I put in a final my iBidder bid price that's well above what I'd prefer to spend, because I want to try and make sure I get it. But there's risk associated with that, right? Because if you put in your nuclear bid and somebody else puts in a nuclear bid last second, you could end up paying a lot of money, and that's happened to me too. But in general, my iBidder has saved me so much money and time and frustration that I love it. I use it all the time, and I highly recommend it. It's really easy to use, and it's very inexpensive. It used to be free, but now they charge for it, but it's worth every single penny. It maybe costs you $20 a year to use it, and I guarantee you that this app has saved me way more than $20 a year on auto bidding for me on eBay auctions last second, because I don't have to worry about it. It saved me frustration, it saved me time, and I'm telling you, I'm not a paid spokesman or anything, but my iBidder is the way to go. So don't get frustrated on last second losses. It's gonna happen. You're gonna get outbid on stuff. It's fine. I get outbid on stuff all the time. I probably get outbid more than I win, and that's okay. But don't get frustrated by it. That's just the nature of eBay. It's just kind of the way eBay works. And you got to go nuclear. You got to go nuclear, man. If there's something that you really want, you got to be willing to put in a last second bid that is very, very high. And so usually I don't. Usually I put in my iBidder bid, and it's what I consider fair market value or even below it. And most of the time I lose, right? But sometimes you just never know. If the auction ends at like 2 o'clock in the morning because it's in Australia or whatever, then sometimes you might win. So check out that app. Again, I'm not a paid spokesman. I'm just a happy customer. Next up, Monster Bash says, how do you protect items when sending them to CAS or AFA to make sure no damage happens while en route? I've been getting this question a lot lately, and I already have a video up, although it's impossible to find if you search if you use the search bar on YouTube and you say action figure grader, how to ship, how to find, or how to pack, you can't find it because I've got too much content out there. But I have a playlist called Graded Collectibles Industry Playlist, and this video is on there. It's called How Do I Pack Grading Submissions? My Past Mistakes, Avoiding Damage, Lost Packages, Which Postal Carrier to Use. I cover it, and I think it's pretty thorough. I'm not saying that all the strategies that I use in this video are correct, but it at least gives you some options. And so it's a very thorough video. I feel like it's 25 minutes long. And I'll put a link in the video description to this video in case you want to go check it out. But, there's no right or wrong way. I'm not trying to say that my way is the right way, but it's how I do it. And I haven't had any damage yet for items. I have lost items, but that's not the fault of the grading companies or me. That's the fault of the postal carriers. So you got to be careful on that stuff, but I do have a very thorough video already out on YouTube, although it's impossible to find it just using the search mechanism on YouTube. So I'll put a link in the video description. Next up, Happy New Year. Amazing giveaway, count me in. What do you think about the state of the Star Wars universe? Are you confident they will do another trilogy? And this is from Guillaume Barnaby. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. I actually think that the Star Wars universe is in its best condition in a long time, at least since Disney has purchased Lucasfilm. There was a time there where I was kind of iffy on it because I thought that Obi-Wan Kenobi was mediocre. It was okay. It was good to mediocre. The Book of Boba Fett was definitely mediocre to poor. But we've got The Bad Batch Season 2, and I love The Bad Batch, the Season 1. That was a great show. We've got Season 3 of The Mandalorian, which based on the trailer looks absolutely epic. We've got Ahsoka, which I think will be very good. We got Grand Admiral Thrawn and the Star Wars Rebels team coming to that show. And then we obviously just had Andor. And in my opinion, Andor is probably the best Star Wars content that's been released since Disney has purchased Lucasfilm, with the exception of Rogue One. It was an incredible series. I loved every minute of it. You can really sink your teeth into the dialogue. The character development was fantastic. It was kind of a not Star Wars. I just loved every single second, the grit and the dirtiness and the grinding of the gears that is the Imperial machine. It shows you the behind the scenes for that. And I just think it was a fantastic, criminally underappreciated show. Although, you know, obviously the ratings were very good and the viewing was very good, but to me, it didn't get enough positive feedback from the Star Wars community, because to me it was just fantastically done. So I'm very confident moving forward. Likewise, another question from C3PO Concepts: if I could greenlight a Star Wars film or series, what would you choose to put into production? And for my next production, it would be the trilogy that was referenced in the last question. I think an awesome trilogy with some minor modifications to it to kind of make it more updated would be Heir to the Empire. I've talked about that in the past. There's no secret that I'm a huge fan of Grand Admiral Thrawn. We obviously have Grand Admiral Thrawn coming to the Ahsoka series very soon, and I think it would be a nice way to parlay, assuming that the actor does the role justice. It would be very easy to parlay that into either a mini series or a movie trilogy, or, you know, 2 movies, whatever you want to do. Now that we got a new Luke, and he was fairly well received from the last season of The Mandalorian, if the Grand Admiral Thrawn really shows his stuff, you could bring in Jorah Seaboth and obviously all the other events of Heir to the Empire and show Grand Admiral Thrawn's eventual death. I would love it. I would embrace it. I would just be so excited, because it's a great story from Timothy Zahn, and it's high time that we have Heir to the Empire, either as a series or preferably as a movie trilogy. So will it happen? Probably not, but that would be my first pick in terms of existing content. I'm sure that there's other stuff that they could do, but to me, Disney needs to fall back a little bit on some of these expanded universe topics. There's plenty of expanded universe novels out there that are very well done. The latest trilogy from about Grand Admiral Thrawn's origins by Timothy Zahn would be another good choice. So there's plenty of material out there. It's just a matter of whether Disney wants to actually greenlight anything. They seem to be hesitant to greenlight any movies right now. It's mainly about TV series, and I can understand that. The cost is much less, and the cost to market those items, market those series, is much less than the marketing costs associated with a movie and the production values of a movie. But I'm hoping that that's what happens. I don't think it will happen, though. Finally, do you use a nose hair trimmer? This is from Max Carnage. Your nose hair always looks amazing, unlike mine. And Max, this is a great question, and the answer is yes. I put an example of one. This is a Panasonic that is on Amazon for $15.99. It's an electric nose hair trimmer. The one I have is Fleepow. This is like an even cheaper version, but it works great. It gets all the little nose hairs out. I use it probably twice a week because I have to groom myself because my hair grows so fast, but it works great. I'm a big fan of this nose hair trimmer. So if you don't have one, and like people like Chris W. over at Rogue 5 Toys, he needs to be constantly groomed with like hedge trimmers. He's got hair growing out of every orifice, and I don't want to look like that. I want to look nice and clean. And this is actually long for my hair right now. It's about time for me to cut my hair again. But highly recommend the electric nose hair trimmers. You Star Wars collectors, you guys let your hygiene go downhill. And I'm telling you, look good for the wife or your significant other, because it makes a difference as to how mad they get when they see those packages arriving at your back doorstep after you made another ill-advised purchase on eBay or on Facebook. That's all I really had for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.